It was really crazy. It was very different than anything I had ever seen.
We're not looking for loners.
We are an orchestra.
On se rend vraiment compte de l'intensité du programme.
My main job here as director of the program is to push you outside of your comfort zone along a lot of different dimensions.
People always say I look sweet and beautiful, but they never know how much I cried behind.
MBA students are challenging students.
Vous allez souffrir. Vous allez pleurer.
The false expectation would be that because thanks to an MBA you can be right away a manager.
Every year, more than 250,000 prospective students take their GMAT examinations. Best candidates will be enrolled into MBA programs. HEC Montreal offers an intensive MBA program. It lasts only 1 year. The year is divided into 9 periods, generally 6 weeks in each of them. At the end of each period, the students pass 5 exams during Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Well, on Monday, a new period starts.
You are MBAs, okay? So sell yourselves.
It is a challenging experience because the student needs to work about 80 hours a week in order to attend classes, make teamworks, readings and individual assignments. How it feels to be an MBA student. What is the difference between the expectations and the reality? These are two main questions to be explored by this documentary.
I read the essays because there's a large element of subjectivity in admissions. I'm trying to find out who the person is, what they think is important, how they express themselves. A person can have the best GMAT score, can have the best letters of reference, can have the best undergraduate degree, can have the best work experience. But if the essay is poorly written, if it's not clear why the student wants to do an MBA, if the essay is simply a repetition of what's on our website, I want to come to HEC because, and then it reads like our website, then that candidate will not be considered. The strength of our program is that there are a variety of people in it. We don't have a model. We have people in the program who have very strong GMAT scores and are very analytical. We have people in the program who have very weak GMAT scores and who are very experiential in the way they learn. We have people who come from business, we have people who come from engineering, we have people who come from the arts, we have people who come from management. So I guess the typical student or the type of student we're looking for is a student who is looking for a breadth in their experience, breadth in the experience of the MBA program, who doesn't want to go to an MBA program where everybody is just like them, who is open to learning from their colleagues, because quite frankly, half of the learning, if not more, of what you do in an MBA program is from the other people in the room, not from the professor. So, you know, someone who's open to learning from other people. We're not looking for loners. A person who wants to work on their own because they know everything and they have the right answer is not the kind of person who succeeds in this program. Really, it's the ability and the willingness and the desire to learn from other people that I think really sets the program apart from other programs and is what I'm looking for in candidates. You know, we have a limited number of places, and we want people in the program to have a good idea of what they're going to do with it afterwards.
Il est vrai que beaucoup d'étudiants, par contre, ne savent pas exactement ce qu'ils veulent faire après le MBA. En fait, le MBA, pour certains, fait partie du processus de trouver ce qu'on a le goût de faire. On a des rêves qu'on souhaite réaliser, et le MBA, ben, c'est une manière parfois de les réaliser.
Où j'ai vu en fait que mon travail actuel, qui était analyste financier pour une compagnie pharmaceutique, avec qui j'avais travaillé pour 3 ans, ça allait me mener vraiment à être toujours analyste financier. Il n'y avait pas vraiment de plus d'opportunités que je pouvais aller chercher. Donc le fait de vouloir faire le MBA, ça allait me permettre justement d'ouvrir de nouvelles portes, d'aller chercher de nouvelles compétences et probablement, ce que j'espère, trouver un autre travail qui va plus me stimuler. Et aussi rencontrer de nouvelles personnes, parce que je savais qu'au niveau du MBA HEC Montréal, il y a énormément d'étudiants qui viennent des quatre coins de la planète, ce qui est vraiment le cas. Et ça allait être vraiment une expérience très enrichissante. Mais en même temps aussi, pourquoi je voulais faire le MBA HEC, parce que c'est un programme d'1 an. Ça me permet de prendre un break, ça me permet en même temps de se re-questionner.
You never know what is going to happen in your life, and the reason I chose HEC Montreal is really a very a coincidence. When I went back to China for a 3-month vacation in 2010, and I met a friend who graduated from HEC Montreal like a couple of years ago, and she recommended me this school.
I come from a technical background. I studied computer systems engineering in Mexico, and I was working for software companies in the sales department, and I was seeing that I needed to do an MBA in order to grow within the organization and to do some stuff that I wanted to do, like marketing or sales administration. So I started looking for programs, and one of the programs that caught my eye was HEC. The reason that I chose HEC, it was because it offered a really quick program within 12 months and a quick turnover of the money. So I had a return of investment quicker than other programs. And besides, it was in Canada, in the same continent that I was living in. So I was already used to the North American way of working. The reason that I chose a program, it's because it offers the ability to deal with people from all over the world in a learning environment within the same continent that I live in and with the work culture that I've been used to work in.
Comme je suis ingénieur de formation, l'aspect technique, je suis passé dessus et arrivé à un point, on arrive à gérer une équipe. On a besoin quand même d'outils. L'idée du départ, c'était d'avoir les outils pour pouvoir mieux performer, mieux gérer son portefeuille et mieux gérer les gens.
It's a program that really tries to expose students to a lot of different perspectives. You know, I like to say when new students arrive, my main job here as director of the program is to push you outside of your comfort zone along a lot of different dimensions, not just analytics and business knowledge, but the ability to work with other people, to put you in social situations that are difficult, or work with the recruiting people to put you in recruiting, job search situations that are difficult and different, really to push the envelope. And that's what we're trying to do. And it's not push the envelope in marketing or push the envelope in finance, it's push the envelope as the whole person, as the manager. Because frankly, what employers are looking for and the people who succeed in management are the people who can walk into a new situation, feel comfortable walking into a new situation, are able to deal with ambiguity, are able to deal with uncertainty, and can thrive and succeed in that kind of environment. And it's much better to practice that here than to have it happen the very first time when you're out on the job.
Well, first I remember starting with the accounting introduction, and it was really crazy. It was very different than anything I had ever seen or learned about before, so it was quite an overwhelming experience. And then I remember starting with my group during the simulation. And again, it was overwhelming, something I never had to do before, but what I really appreciated was that my group was extremely understanding and everyone really wanted to accept each other and wanted to get along, and we really had a great bonding experience. And getting through the first period was challenging because we all wanted to work together on everything and all be a part of everything. But then we kind of got into a certain groove and we were able to really figure out and delineate tasks so that everyone could get through everything much easier in the second period. Sometimes you just have to make decisions together. You have to get everybody on board. You have to finalize something, stick to it, and then be able to get through the reactions and what ends up the outcomes, you have to be able to get through them together.
Because, MBA students are challenging students. You know, they have I would say a nice ego. They believe that most of them are leaders, and so you can see that, for example, at the simulation, when we make a team of 5 leaders, you can have some problems, and that the reality requires a collaboration. Even if you have a kind of leadership character, you need collaboration between the students. Slowly but surely, you have to have them understand what the reality is, and I like the metaphor of the orchestra that I give in the first class, that we are an orchestra, and each of us, each student, and including the professor, should be perfectly prepared, knowing the score, the business case, you know, so that we can play together a great class and we have great learning. So for me, it's a collective approach. But at the MBA level, you all come with your experience, all with your previous training at university. Some are engineers, some are, you know, marketers, some are HR, lawyers, and you have to put all of them together and to study a real life case study, and so I think it's in the end it's a privilege to be an MBA professor.
L'expérience est très très enrichissante, donc j'ai appris énormément durant cette année, franchement. Ça a été relativement difficile, je dirais, où ça m'a demandé un peu de capacité d'adaptation. C'est que au début, on a beau nous dire que le programme est intensif et préparez-vous à une année intensive et que ça va être dur. On a beau être préparé, mais une fois qu'on est dedans aux premières périodes, on se rend vraiment compte de l'intensité du programme et c'est vraiment prenant. Équilibrer tout ça avec le travail qu'il y a à faire, la vie de famille, organiser tout ça avec tout ce volume de travail qu'il y a à faire est relativement difficile au départ. Mais ce qu'il y a de très bien, c'est qu'on arrive à s'adapter au bout de quelques périodes. On arrive à s'organiser après beaucoup d'expérience. On devient expérimenté dans le fait d'organiser son temps et de planifier les choses.
What was the most challenging for you personally?
Personally, I would say it was managing my personal life with all that I had to do for the MBA. It's also being able to take time to shut down from school, step away from what you have to do, and make time to actually see people, do things that matter, remember the things that matter, to just take weekends, take a break, take a couple minutes or whatever time you need, and then just having something separate, because school can really be overwhelming, and it's really important to remember what's really important in your life, and to reevaluate. And so it's a big challenge. Sometimes I had zero free time, and that would be really difficult because the timing wouldn't really be that great.
I planned to start my MBA like 2 years ago. I chose HEC Montreal because it is a 1-year program, and since I'm not gonna be working for 1 year, it was better for me to start the program in an intensive way. As well, it gave me the opportunity to meet a lot of people from many countries around the world. I would say that the challenging part, it wasn't difficult, but it was a challenge. It was to deal with your time, how to manage your time, how do you want to get as much from your MBA and at the same time get good grades.
Have you really had the weekends?
No.
And how did you feel about it?
About what, sorry?
Not to have real weekends during the whole year.
Yeah, well, I made up my mind that I had to give up my weekends for 1 year, and I'm looking forward to take them back.
And when the program will be over, will you take a long break, and what you plan to do during this break? Some vacations maybe?
If I will have the chance to travel to Europe, that would be amazing. if I find a job right now, like in September, I will start it right now, because it's been 1 year since I haven't working, so my savings are going down, and so if I have the chance to go to Europe and travel, or go back to South America and visit family and friends, that would be great. But if not, I have to start working right away.
Where you will be working? How do you think?
I love CPG industry. I love how to interact with customers and consumers, how to deliver amazing products and services to the consumers to improve their lives. That's my life. That's what I love to do.
I enjoy also the fact that many students are at a crossroads in their life. Why do you do an MBA? Okay, we all want to have a better position within the company. Somehow, I think the MBA can be perceived as the license, like a driving license of a company. Once you have an MBA, you can be a manager. Some students would think that with an MBA, they can be managers and they can run a company. And you know that when we are doing a case study in class, in 3 hours, we look at problems or issues of very well-known companies, and collectively with 25 students or 30 students, we understand what is the situation, what went wrong, we have solutions, etc. So we can almost, after a few cases, think that, wow, we have the solutions for everything in real life, you know, because the case are real life problems and we solve them very, very quickly. The problem is we can always have a kind of good rational analysis of a problem, of a real life issue. We can make very good recommendations, but real life is about something else. Real life is about implementing what you recommend. And the implementation, as we have seen in some classes of strategic management too, is the main challenge actually. When you are a manager, we are all good thinkers. When you have an MBA, I mean, you have no stupid student around the table. So everybody somehow understands what is at stake, what is the issue. But I think what makes the difference between the MBA program and real life is that in real life you touch and you live and you emotionally live the challenges of implementing things, and it's all about human beings. So resistance to change or willingness to change is about how you deal with human beings in a real context of a company. So I think that the false expectation would be that because thanks to an MBA you can be right away a manager. I remember my days when I did my MBA, and actually I was very, somehow I would say, almost full of myself. I thought that I was the best and that I'm going to solve the problems of any situation that I could encounter. And then I realized that the real life is difficult because you have tensions, you have human being problems, and so you have to, I think you need emotional intelligence to be a good MBA practitioner. The MBA gives you the tools, gives you the background in order to make sound decisions. But don't forget that too much rationality is not what reality requires. You need to be able to mix emotional intelligence, your personality, your aspirations, with a rational logic, so that you can communicate to people not only at the brain level, but also with the heart and emotions, so that you can convince people about what you are what your intent is.
I think the biggest difficulties in this program is not about studying or doing a presentation or writing the papers. For me, the biggest challenge is how to get along with classmates from all over the world, and how to integrate into the Canadian society. And it's a long process for me to learn how to speak, how to understand the cultural difference and all kinds of conflicts. and I learned a lot of how to deal with these conflicts and challenges. People always say I look sweet and beautiful, but they never know how much I cried behind. Yeah, only my close friends, they knew that how hard it is for me to deal with these problems. But I'm really proud of myself, and I'm happy I get all of these difficulties through, and in the end, I can still smile. For sure, I'm still surviving, and I had a really great time. You know, for some of my friends, their priority is to look for a good job and to survive very practically. But for me, I think it's only a 12-month period, and it's a very intensive program. I want to really enjoy it, and I want to integrate it. I try my best to attend all kinds of activities to show myself and to show how China is my country, and I'm very proud of it. I'm from China. I want to tell people that it's really a good experience to have a Chinese classmate in this program. Yeah.
Campus abroad. What it is about? It's just a trip. You have chosen Russia.
Campus abroad is an amazing opportunity. That was actually the highlight of the entire year. I think that was one of the reasons why I decided to go back to school, because I knew I really wanted to have this international opportunity, and I was so happy that I had a chance to participate in it. And what it is, it's really an opportunity for you to go there and really experience what another country is like and their business environment. So what are their challenges? What are their opportunities? What is the culture like, and how does that impact the business environment that they have? So it's a really interesting experience, and what was great about it was we had one person from HEC who was with us, who was the coordinator, and so you get kind of that Montreal perspective, but then there was another coordinator who was Russian, so I was able to ask her a ton of questions, and we would compare things, you know, between the US and between Russia, or between Canada and between Russia, and so it was great to have this other person that I could talk to at any time and ask her anything, you know, any questions that I had.
Do you think you will be able to capitalize on this experience, Russian experience?
I think that it will give me something to talk about in interviews. I think it kind of shapes me as a person. It gives me a different global perspective. One of the things that I'm looking to work in is managing international programs at a university. I've now participated in an international program, so I can really talk about the experience. I know what it's like as a student, and then it'll really help me if I become a coordinator. It's something that makes me an interesting person, you know? It just gives me something a little bit different than what other people might not have. Lets me stand out, stand apart, and it really was an eye-opener, because sometimes you take things for granted where you are.
I think the right balance between being secure about your knowledge, thanks to the MBA, and having the tools to manage, and being humble about how you behave in using them, is something that you can find only in practice. You cannot find that in a classroom. An MBA is valid only if then you can test it in real life. And I'm sure that you have been quite well equipped at the MBA at HEC to be a smart practitioner by using the tools and combining it with your own personalities and psychological profile and aspirations.
Your expectation before MBA and the reality, how are they different in your opinion?
To be honest, my expectation was that I would learn more. I thought that I would have more of a basis for what business was all about, and kind of the legwork would already be done. I would already understand maybe how to start a business, or I would understand certain accounting things or finance things that would make me comfortable with those topics, having not come from that background. And now I'm realizing I don't even really have a strong foundation in that. But what I do have now is I know what accounting means. I know what finance means. So it gives me some sort of understanding, but not as much as I thought I would have. And the same with entrepreneurship. I don't think I've learned a lot about what it means to be an entrepreneur, what kinds of challenges you have, but I don't feel comfortable starting a business tomorrow.
Ce que je constate effectivement, c'est qu'au cours de l'année, les choses se précisent pour la majorité d'entre eux. Alors qu'au début de l'année, c'est beaucoup plus vague, on s'intéresse à tout. En cours de programme, les étudiants précisent leurs choix, confirment ce qu'ils ont le goût de faire. Pour beaucoup d'entre eux, c'est une occasion de réaliser un rêve. Alors je pense que c'est ça que je constate, c'est que les choses se précisent. Et se précisent beaucoup par les apprentissages en classe, les échanges qu'ils ont avec les autres étudiants.
What I learned here are working with several cultures, dealing and leading project teams with people from different backgrounds and different languages and different countries.
J'ai gagné beaucoup d'amitié, j'ai rencontré de nouvelles personnes, je me suis fait de nouveaux amis. C'est vraiment quelque chose d'extraordinaire, moi je trouve, surtout maintenant à notre âge, de pouvoir le faire. Et en même temps, on gagne des amitiés mondiales en fait. C'est vraiment des personnes qui viennent des 4 coins du monde, et puis on va pouvoir garder contact tout le long de notre vie. Enfin, moi je l'espère. Et qu'est-ce que j'ai gagné aussi? J'ai gagné beaucoup de fatigue. Beaucoup, extrêmement de fatigue, c'est assez incroyable, on n'y pense pas, on dit une année c'est assez rapide. Mais en même temps, c'est une année extrêmement intense, une intensité qu'on vit dès le premier jour. J'ai gagné aussi une superbe expérience au niveau des profs, parce qu'on a quand même la chance d'avoir des profs extrêmement bons. Parce que même ces professeurs, c'est pas juste des professeurs académiques, c'était aussi des gestionnaires, des personnes qui appliquent ce qu'ils nous enseignent.
Math will rock the world, and it's true. Leadership from boss to coach is important, and it's true that information technology is the foundation of everything now. But it's not true that someone with a specialization in one of those areas will be a successful manager. A successful manager needs to understand what those things are and how they interact and how to exploit them and when to put the emphasis on one and the other, or the other. So the future of an MBA program, from my perspective and where we're going in the HEC Montreal program, is this integrated perspective. And most MBA programs are delivered in silos. You do a marketing course which is divorced from the management course, which is divorced from the strategy course. You know, the prof comes to the room, they do their thing, and they have their course. Where we're really pushing the program now is to take a much more integrated perspective, to look at the world from the perspective of types of activities or types of problems that managers face. And then when we do that, from a particular problem perspective, we can understand why math will rock the world for that particular problem, and why leadership is important, and why information technology is a key fundamental in going forward in the organization. So again, the successful MBA programs, and I think successful MBA graduates, are those who know what these things are, who are able to tap the specialists and use the specialists. You know, math will rock the world, those are specialists. IT, those are specialists. Even leadership, you know, there are specialists who know how to do that. So can I tap those resources in my organization and bring them into play in order to move the organization forward? That's the kind of student we hope to produce. That's the kind of program we are building as we go forward. In terms of the future of MBA in the world, as you mentioned earlier, there are lots of MBA programs. And there are full-time and part-time and mini MBAs and essentials of MBA and executive MBA. The term quite frankly, is overused. It's ambiguous now what an MBA really means to an employer. Having said that, I think like in any market where you have that kind of a situation, the market is ripe for one or several schools to step out and redefine what an MBA is. I like to think in terms of the internet. We had the web, and then we had Web 2.0. I think the market is really ripe for MBA 2.0, which is going to change what an MBA really is, redefine what it is, what those kind of people can do. A specialized MBA to me is kind of a contradiction in terms, right? An MBA in finance or an MBA in marketing means what exactly? So again, the focus that we're taking, a leader or a manager who's able to understand what's happening in their organization, can talk to those people, those specialists, can bring those specialists into play. I think those are the programs that are going to survive. Frankly, I think we're due for a shakeout in the MBA industry, if you want to think about it that way. There are lots and lots of schools, there are lots and lots of students, there are lots and lots of programs. At some point, when you get that kind of saturation in the marketplace, the value of that degree can change. We're looking to make sure that people have an MBA from HEC Montreal, that MBA is valued because the marketplace understands what it is.
So my name is Jean Saad. I'm marketing manager with the National Film Board of Canada, and I'm an MBA graduate from 2011, last year. I started this position back in January this year, 2012.
How this MBA program impacted your further career?
The interpersonal skills that I developed in the MBA, it was very important to know how to manage people and coach and negotiate and make decisions, especially like in situations of ambiguity or situations where you're working in an industry, you don't know all the details and you have to make decisions anyway. So in terms of soft skills, I developed them very well in the MBA. The MBA helps you understand how the different departments in the organization tie into your work. You get to know more in finance and operations and things that you would previously not know.
Would it be for you, let's say, possible to get this position without having MBA?
I don't think the MBA, is the reason why I found the job, but of course it must have increased my chances to do so. Most importantly because I was coming from outside of Quebec, and it helped me build a network in Quebec and build some trusting relationships with colleagues or with the industry. Also helped me develop my French, without which I wouldn't have landed that position. So I decided to take a couple of courses in French during the MBA, and it quickly came back. My basic French quickly developed into a level that was appropriate for that position. So I think for sure it is not the key. It took me a good 4 months to find a job after the MBA, but it does help tremendously.
And do you stay in contact with your ex-classmates?
Yeah, of course. I think I have some 120 good friends after last year. I know that one day if I needed help in any of the countries they come from, I have someone that I can count on. And already we've helped each other so much since last year. The bonding that we did last year was really strong.
And can you remember how difficult it was for your classmates to find the job after graduation?
You'd probably be better asking like the career office, career development office at the school. They have the right statistics. From what I had discussions with colleagues, I think by Christmas about 30% only had jobs. That's what I can remember, probably 40%, and by March, 3/4 of them had already jobs.
For the people who are just thinking about making the MBA program, what would be your first advice?
I would say find out what you want from the program first, because I knew that I wanted to get involved in international programs, so that's why I investigated Russia, and that's why I was involved as with the Student Association as International Affairs Director, and I had tried for the VP position from the beginning. I just knew what I was getting myself into and what I wanted from the program. So I would say if you want to get good grades, do what you can before the program to set yourself up. So if you know that something is not your strong point, finance, accounting, marketing, whatever it is, I would say do your basics understanding and get as much help as you can before you start the program, because once you're in it, you're not going to be able to have time to do that stuff. So if you know what you want out of the program, make sure you do everything you can before you go, because you'll have way more time before than you will once you're in it.
Les gens qui pensent à faire un MBA, je leur conseillerais de le faire parce que c'est très très enrichissant comme programme. Et surtout ici à HEC, on est très bien lotis, on est pris en charge. Pour les gens qui arrivent l'année prochaine, je leur souhaite tout le succès. Je leur souhaite de passer une aussi bonne année que la nôtre et d'être dans une cohorte aussi agréable.
For the next promotion from HEC Montreal, I would say that it is a challenging experience, but you have to enjoy it. Take the most of your MBA, despite the grades and the pressure you're gonna have. Enjoy Montreal, enjoy your friends, enjoy your life.
Voilà, j'espère que ceux qui vont le voir, enrôlez-vous, faites-le, pourquoi pas. Vous allez souffrir, vous allez pleurer, mais vous allez rire à la fin, ça c'est sûr.